America's Book Club host David Rubenstein and author David Grann viewed the Folger Shakespeare Library's collection of first folios, the first published collections of Shakespeare's plays, and then visited the library's vault.
Hi.
Director.
Nice to see you.
Great to see you.
See you again. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you. How are
Sure.
you? Welcome
Well-
to the Folger.
Well, and who wrote all the Shakespeare plays?
Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare,
Really?
but he had a lot of collaborators. Early modern theater making and writing was very different than it is today, or than sort of what we consider authorial practice today. They would collaborate with other playwrights, and sometimes the actors themselves would say, for example, Shakespeare worked in a theater company, and they might say, oh, actually, this line doesn't really work for me, and he was in the room working with the actors.
But he was an actor also.
He was also an actor, yes, and a shareholder in the company, and a householder in the playhouse called the Globe Theater.
And what is the condition of the folios now?
It depends on which one you're talking
Yeah.
about. I mean, one of the reasons why the Folgers collected so many is because they were really curious about how different each one was from each other. They have such a long history by that point, and they'd gone through so many hands that they wanted to assess, what is the quality of one folio versus another, and actually became a kind of academic study as well as an obsession for them.
So the last first folio that was sold, I think, went for $10 million. Is that right? Something like that.
In that time period?
No.
Oh,
Most
now?
recently,
Oh, yes,
a couple years ago,
yes,
I think
yeah.
Mills College had one. They were selling it. It went for $10 million. So
right, yeah.
yours are something more valuable than some of those. So you
Yes.
have 82 of them times 10 million at least. It's pretty expensive.
I had to have some background checks before I got this job.
Right.
Would you like to have a look at two of the folios that we've
Right.
decided to isolate? So these were folios that were owned by women. This one was owned by Margaret By, and you can see that she's written an inscription. She sort of tried to sort of test out what it might be like to write with a quill, and writes kind of subpar verse. And then this one was owned by Olivia Cotton, who was related to the Hutchinson family, which was an important family in the 17th century. So it just shows you that women were reading Shakespeare as well, even in the 17th century, and many of the folios were owned by women.
Really?
Were they British, both owners?
Yes.
Wow.
We think the first time the folio came to America may be 1791.
Okay.
That's the earliest I think we can trace it. Have you ever held a folio?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever held a folio?
No, because I don't want to drop it and get blamed for it. So I'm afraid
It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, yes.
Welcome. This is one of the famous vaults where we hold the Folger collection in all its forms, but I'm going to take you first back into this other room. And what I would like to show you is back in this corner. So we've seen the first folios and the Folger's obsession with this collecting this magnificent object. This is the collection of quartos that they also collected. So these are the earlier, smaller, cheaper versions of the plays. 18 of the plays were printed in this format, and often during Shakespeare's lifetime. So this is Pericles, for instance, and 1609 with Shakespeare's name on it, and is a very good example of the way the plays appeared in this earlier format before we get to the first folio. And so, of course, the Folgers wanting to collect everything they possibly could that documented this work, the folios were very important. There's one in particular, this is a special treat. This is the quarto of Titus Andronicus. And this is the only copy of this that is in existence. And so when this became available, Henry Folger was determined to add this to his collection. He and Henry Huntington went back and forth, especially with quartos, as they were trying to collect them all. But he got this one, and it's a real treasure here.
And who in the day would have been reading that?
They were sold in the vicinity of the playhouses. It wasn't as common to sit down and read a play as it would have been to just go and hear it performed. which I think is why, again, not all the plays were printed, but there was a little bit of a market. It's ephemeral, and it's sort of a memento in a way.
Wow.
So now we're going to head back this way.
And is there a certain temperature you need to keep the room at for preservation?
Yes, there is. We keep it at about 55 degrees. We try to keep a nice, even range of humidity, not too dry, not too humid. So we're going to head back here. We have a little bit of room where I have a few things set out. So this is one of the 82 first folios, but I wanted to show this one in particular because to me it demonstrates a little bit of something about Henry and Emily's obsession with this book. This is a copy that is actually made up. In other words, all of the sections come from various copies, and it was put together to make a copy. So even in this state, all of these leaves are detached. This binding is essentially a shell, but it is complete more or less in its parts. And so again, we have it right now, it's arranged that the Tempest and the opening of that play is what you see when you open this binding, but it doesn't really exist. But the Folgers were just devoted to collecting every single copy that they could because they felt as though if they were to do that, that someday we would learn something new about Shakespeare and about this book by virtue of having them all together.
But did,
even something like
nobody
this.
in England said, hey, somebody from America is buying up all this stuff, or nobody knew?
Well, people did know, and yes, it was commented on, and it was not seen favorably in many quarters. At the same time, Henry tried very, very hard to keep it as quiet as he possibly could. And more than anything, he didn't want people raising the prices on him as he was doing that. And then over here, if you come around, this is a book of Juvenal's writings, not particularly remarkable. But what we have it open to is a page that this is handwritten in manuscript, 1695. It's the inventory of Edward Dale's books. Edward Dale lived in Virginia. This is an inventory of the books that were in his possession when he died. And on this list, right here, is Shakespeare's Works, 1632, folio. So that's a second folio. First folio 1623, second folio 1632. This is the earliest record that we have of Shakespeare on the North American continent, is this inventory list.
Wow.
So Shakespeare comes with the English as they come here, was always a part of this country in its beginnings, coming through Virginia as represented in a collection like this.
Okay. So when did you become a Shakespeare expert?
Well, I've been living with Shakespeare for a long time, and my work primarily focuses on early printed books. And so this collection is one of the great repositories of this kind of material.
So how long have you been here?
I've been here for 7 years.
Where were you before?
I was at the University of Iowa, head of special collections in Iowa City.
Okay.
Yeah. I have one more thing to share with you. And it's not just to show, it's not all books. We also have this ring. This is a memento ring, which is memorializing someone's death. And in this case, on the inside, you can just see engraved, "The cruel seas remember took him November 92. So this ring was created for someone who was lost at sea in November of 1692. And this memorializes that event. And it's very difficult to see without a magnifying glass, but there's skeletons on here. And the way that the facets are cut, they seem to move a little bit. So memorializing somebody lost at sea, this is all that remains now.
Well, you know about
Maybe
that.
some of those people, I don't think anyone from the wager could have afforded that. Was it very expensive in its day? It looks like it was.
It looks
Must
like it
have
was
been somebody like an officer of some
you
sort.
can just see the engraving on the inside.
Okay, very impressive.
Wonderful.
So when you were in college, did you say, I care about rare books, or?
So I was a studio art major, and I did letterpress printing.
Where did you go to school?
McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So I learned how to print and then became fascinated by the history of printing.
McAllister. Gene McCarthy, did he go there? Or Mondale? I can't remember. Somebody. Mondale went there.
Mondale went there, yes. Yep, that's right.
Okay. All right. So what temperature do you keep this at?
55 degrees down here.
55.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about icicles on the books, right?
No, they're pretty happy in this climate.
Is it more for the ink or the paper?
It's the paper, but also all the material in the bindings as
Can
well.
disintegrate.
You have leather, you have vellum, animal skin. So trying to keep all of that at a nice, consistent range is most important.
Okay.
These are mostly, what century are we? Mostly?
The heart of this collection here is 17th century.
17th century,
Yes.
1600s.
Okay.
Yeah.